Okay, I think we're all ready, Ariel, if you want to get started.
Thank you, Caitlin. So yes, Caitlin said my name is Ariel. I am the lead clinician at the Oasis LGBTQ+ outpatient program for Bright Harbor Healthcare. It is a brand new program we launched in January. We are offering individual and group therapy, case management, outreach, and linkage to prescribers. We originally were for adults 18+, but we recently opened up to youth to offer those services to them as well. We were given a grant through DMHAS to serve a special population, and so we decided that we were going to choose the LGBTQ+ community because there aren't really a lot of resources for that community in Ocean County. A lot of us have to go to Monmouth County or Atlantic County in either direction in order to get those services. So it'd be nice to have a place that's close to get support that is competent and can work with the community in a way that maybe other programs or clinicians aren't well versed in. So I'm, like I said, the lead clinician here. I coordinate the program, and I've been the one sort of launching the program from the beginning to now through December is when the grant is going to be for. Our goal obviously is to sustain the program so that our services can be continued for years now. Let's hope, fingers crossed. Like I said, we do offer case management services. So a lot of that is targeted case management specific to the community, which means, helping with legal name change, driving to appointments, linkage to hormone replacement therapy. I am certified to provide the approval for insurances for gender affirming healthcare. So if someone's insurance specifically requires a letter of approval from a mental health professional, I am certified to be able to provide that. Although New Jersey is a state where you can just go and receive those services, some insurances still are required to have that letter in hand. So that is a service we also provide through Oasis. The outreach that we do is like this, just presenting that we exist. We are still brand new and growing. We are mostly a Medicaid funded program, but we do, as Bright Harbor is a community mental health agency, we do accept private insurances, Medicare, and non-insured. So we won't turn anyone away, but as far as the funding to sustain the program, we're mainly a Medicaid funded program. Trying to think about what else. We do, like I said, run group therapy. Right now we're running 2 groups specifically for adults. We don't have enough youth in the program at the moment to run a youth group. But ideally we would love to be able to offer that as well. Right now it's a CBT group and a DBT group. So we have 2 separate ones based on whatever the population needs, and just providing any additional support that those individuals are looking for. That's mainly Oasis. There isn't really much else to say, just that, we are accepting new clients at all times. We're still a small program and looking to grow, and just wanting to be available to the community and let y'all know that we exist.
Good morning, Ariel. I have a question or
Sure.
2, I think. So I know recently we had a youth that is going, wants to go for hormone replacement therapy. And I guess the requirement is they have to meet with a therapist that is skilled in that area. I don't know like the specific requirements, or I don't know if it's any therapist. I don't know if you can answer that question and if that's a service that Oasis can offer.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, I am certified to provide the approval for youth and adults to receive gender affirming healthcare. I've actually referred a couple youth already.
Okay, and this is Medicaid reimbursable as well?
Yeah, the program mainly takes Medicaid, yes.
Great, thank you. That's great to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Ariel, I just.
Sorry.
Rochelle, you go first.
Okay, I have a question. I have a youth who is receiving, I guess, like outpatient therapy with the Oasis program right now. She just started with Jess, I believe. Um, However, I was wondering if you guys also assist with like medication management. Um, so is there like a wait list for that, or like how does that work?
No, so we do have a few outpatient therapists who have offered to do per diem hours for Oasis to take on extra clients. So we do offer medication linkage to our outpatient prescribers. They're not specific to the Oasis program, but they have made availability for clients from our program. So we would absolutely be able to do that linkage.
Okay, and who should I be in contact with for that?
The client is currently with Oasis.
Yes.
Okay, so either myself or Shannon. Shannon is my case manager. I believe I might know the case you're talking about, and I believe Shannon is the one involved. So you can absolutely reach out to her. I can provide you with both of our contact information. So you can reach out to either one of us, but we would be happy. I know we have that particular case open and we're just waiting to move forward once, because it's through Perform Care, right?
Yes.
Okay, so once that service is no longer needed for that individual, then Oasis is going to move forward and take over the care for them. So we'll be able to take care of all that.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Um, I had a quick question just about the referral process. How would that work?
Sure. So external referrals are going through our access department. I'd be able to provide you with that contact information, but of course, I'll give you mine as well. So if you have questions, or if there's a particular case that you're not sure if they're appropriate for the program, I'd be happy to be able to talk through that as well.
Great. And just another question. If a youth, say, or anyone, wasn't able to meet in person for sessions, would it be possible to do with telehealth or is it strictly in person? And I know you are at the same location as Bayside on Bailey Road in Toms River, right?
Yep. Yes, we do offer telehealth services. Absolutely.
Oh, great. Any other questions for Ariel and the Oasis program? Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for coming. And if you want to send me, I have your contact, but if you would be able to send me your case manager's contact so I could send that out to our staff after the meeting, just so they know where to send referrals or questions to, that would be great.
Sure. I'll send you an email. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to Jenny and Mike now from the STARR program. And I failed to mention this in the beginning, but if either of you need to share your screen for any sort of presenting materials, feel free.
Great. Thank you so much, Caitlin. My name is Mike McKee. I'm the CEO of Family Therapy and Consultation Services. We're a partner with Ocean County CMO as an IIC and IH provider. We have a lot of exciting new initiatives coming up that we wanted to share with you today. The main initiative we want to share with you is our STARR training program. It's a program focused on trauma-informed care and working with not just children, but the families of children and the guardians. So I'm going to introduce to you the creator, the developer of STARR training. Her name is Jenny Reiter. Jenny is our clinical director, so you may have spoken to her on the phone several times, but she developed this training. We're very proud of it. So without further ado, Jenny, if you want to jump in and describe the training.
Absolutely. I'm glad that my camera is working this time. Last time it wasn't, so it's wonderful to see you all again. So I'm very excited about this program, the STARR program. STARR actually stands for Safety, Trauma, Informed Attachment, Relationship Regulation. I developed this program after CGS-CMO had called me regarding some difficulties and challenges they were having with youth in resource homes that were not having an increased in stabilization and remaining in the homes, but being sort of bounced from home to home to home as the caregivers and resource parents were really struggling with understanding behavior and utilizing approaches that would be beneficial to the youth and to the families. So I developed this program out of an abundance of research and experience in working with youth and families that have been impacted by trauma and just parenting in general. And I realized that we have a tremendous amount of new information regarding the mind and body connection and really understanding behavior through a neurodevelopmental lens. So my training is an individualized therapeutic approach. Any approach that advertises itself as a one-size-fits-all to me is problematic. So it's very individualized. It's a relational and, again, neurodevelopmental model. So it provides a lot of psychoeducation to caregivers regarding initially starting off with early childhood infant mental health, early childhood development, brain development, early childhood, early mental health matters. It matters to all future development. So we really need to understand what has taken place in the initial early years of a youth's life. Those birth to 5 years are very important, and being able to look at a youth's behaviors through that lens. So then I kind of move on to really reframing attention seeking behavior, that notion of attention seeking behavior, to the need for connection. And that behavior is often just survival adaptive behavior that's communicating something. It's a symptom of something. I go on to explain the impact of trauma, what ACEs are, adverse childhood experiences, and how they impact children and, again, brain development. I talk about the autonomic nervous system. So our fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, being able to really look at behavior through that lens, the difference between misbehavior and stress behavior. And most behavior is stress behavior. It's related to the autonomic nervous system, that survival adaptive fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. So then I also talk about the impact of trauma on executive functioning skills, how it impacts children in schools, how to give caregivers the skills to help advocate for their children in schools and their needs, from a trauma lens, and, again, understanding behavior and this paradigm shift of behavior. That behavior, again, is a symptom. It's communicating a need. It's not a child that's purposefully being oppositional or disobedient. And then I really also talk about the sensory systems, because the sensory system has a great deal to do with behavior and is highly impacted by trauma, especially when trauma has happened in the early years. And most of us know that there's 5 sensory systems, but there are actually 8. And the other 3 are our internal sensory systems. They're actually called our interoceptive system, our vestibular, and our proprioceptive. So I break all of these things down into a very caregiver-friendly way of really helping them understand these things that are so important to understand. And then I also talk about self-regulation and co-regulation. Children learn how to self-regulate through the experience of co-regulation with a caregiver over and over and over and over again through the years. So giving them the tools to be able to do that, and individual tools, because every child is different, and what's going to work for one child is not necessarily going to work for another. And then I go on to really help caregivers also understand their own sensory system, their own nervous system, their own activators, to be self-reflective, to understand that their parenting style, what's happening in the present is impacted by their own previous past experiences. So to get to a place of now where I have established rapport and safety with them, to sort of dig deep within themselves, so that they can be responsive and compassionate to themselves as well as to their children. And then I really start to end the 12-week program really talking about self-love, self-care, and really taking care of themselves, which is obviously highly, highly important. So it's a 12-week program where we meet with the caregivers and family members in one group, and then we have groups for the children of these caregivers. We wanted to have those groups also have somewhat of the same model. So we're using these same skills that we're teaching the caregivers in these children's groups. The older children, we are also teaching them about their own autonomic nervous system, their own sensory systems, their own things that are activating them, and different self-regulation skills that they can utilize in those groups. So we typically, when we worked with CGS CMO, had those groups split into 2 or 3 depending on the age and development of the child. So we had sort of a littles group, and then we had sort of a middle child group and an older kids group. Obviously, that can also just be 2 groups, a littles group and an older teen group. But that's sort of the gist of things. It's psychoeducation, but it's also very supportive to the caregivers, and really helping them to feel validated, heard, understood, but also skill build with them and really help them understand through this new lens with new information that we have about behavior and the impact of trauma. I find that it's helpful to both the caregiver personally as well as to the children in their homes. And we did have a great deal of success with implementing the STARR program with CGS CMO here in sort of Gloucester, Cumberland, Salem County. So I'm super excited to be able to implement this in Ocean County as well, and continue really this movement towards really helping people to understand behavior through a different lens and move away from this idea that it's purposeful, oppositional, defiant misbehavior. But most of behavior that we're seeing with children who have experienced trauma is stress behavior. So each group is 2 hours. Again, it's a 12-week program. We're hoping to have, I guess, when we talked about the numbers, maybe potentially, 8 families or caregivers potentially, and then the children of those families and the children's groups. I do also provide and have, so I have trained our staff in the STARR program. I did get approval for 6.5 CEUs for this training. So we did it for our staff. I'm hoping to expand upon that. If you guys ever have an interest there in Ocean County for your case managers or therapists in that area to engage in that training, I'm more than willing to also do that as well. We could even break it into 2, 3-hour, 15-minute training days potentially. But I'm very excited about this. Again, it's a real shift in how we understand behavior, how we treat behavior, and really seeing it through individualized, relation-based neurodevelopmental approach.
How can we link a family to you?
The email went out Monday with the information on how to register. It
Okay.
came from me, so
Okay.
but Jenny's contact information in there. There's a registration link that's through forms. It's pretty simple. From that, we will be sharing the who registers with Jenny, and they will figure out, who's appropriate, if they're appropriate. I'm sure you'll be in touch with the family too. So the families really need to commit to 12 weeks. There is 1 week off, July 25th, and show up. They will be feeding them. So, everyone will, it's that time of the day. So that always helps. But they really need to commit because it's not just kind of show up when you want. So that's a big part of it. It's also open and encouraged that all the kids in the family come. If appropriate, so childcare isn't a barrier, and also because they're impacted by the entire situation, as we all know. So if you just look for that email, we can definitely resend it. It's at the Ocean County Youth Center, 155 Sunset Ave, Toms River, every Tuesday night, 6 to 8. So if transportation is a barrier, we can always discuss Uber cards, gas cards, things of that nature. There is no transportation being offered by the group. And then after the fact, once the registration is confirmed, I'll just send out information on how to flex. This will be flex funded, so it will be no cost to the families.
I'll also be offering, after the 12 weeks is completed, a monthly virtual support group for the families or the caregivers that have participated in the program to help them with further implementing the approach and sort of staying with the approach. I've seen all too often, we're in the homes, we're teaching, we're skill building, and when we're not there and continuing to add that support, sort of everything that they know sometimes falls to the wayside because they go back to sort of what they're comfortable with or what they're used to doing. So hoping that having that 9-month, monthly support group helps. It was also really nice that the families were able to connect amongst themselves in the groups as well as the teenagers with just making connections, establishing those relationships over the weeks, and them then joining the support group afterwards.
Such a great example of sustainability, especially with the monthly support group following the 12-week program. So that's so amazing. Any questions specific to Jenny and the STARR program? All right. Well, I want to thank everyone. We will definitely be resending that email with all of the information on how to sign your family up, along with Jenny's contact if anyone has any, specific questions.
Absolutely.
All right.
I am completely available if anybody has any further questions about the program, or even if a family wants to talk a little bit more about the program. I'm more than willing to speak.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. And we'll definitely be following up with the information. All right.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.